Hi guys, and I am Christina Heidick with PTO Answers, and today I'm going to dive into the hot topic of how to hold elections when your PTO cannot, or PTA, PTA or PTO cannot meet in person. Now, this whole pandemic, and I should start off by saying this definitely is a first world problem, right? Definitely. But the timing of this pandemic could not be worse for us. This is right in the middle of one of the most crucial times of the year. It's when we are actively recruiting and looking for and electing new leadership for our organizations. And the whole reason why we do it now instead of waiting until the fall is because when you do it now, you are giving those new leaders a whole heck of a lot of time to plan, because successful events happen when they are planned well in advance. And it's just not possible to pull off a successful event. Well, I guess it could be a success, but it won't be as much of a success as it otherwise would be if you are planning and executing at the same time. So if you were giving yourself enough time to plan in advance, to really think out all of the details, the whole event or program or effort, whatever you're doing, is going to be a whole heck of a lot smoother if you've had some time to think about it, process it, troubleshoot potential problems, and then carry it out. So I encourage you, if you, I guess there's three different scenarios that we could have here today that most of y'all watching have, and let me know if you fall into this category. So I'm curious to know how many of you already have your slate done or nearly done. When I asked this question in the PTA PTO Superstar group, there was a fair amount that were done. I think you have a leg up if you already have the election process and schedule kind of written out or systematized in your bylaws or standing rules, or even if it's just part of your culture that you start second semester or the spring semester if you start the whole process. So I think that's definitely the case for all PTAs. I know that my PTAs kind of started the process back in January, so that I think all the groups were able to have their March meetings and the slates were presented then. Or if the slates weren't presented, they're partially, it's like the whole wheels of this process are already in motion. And so I think PTAs and other groups who have started already are in a pretty decent position. For the PTOs that really haven't started, this is where it's going to be a whole heck of a lot harder, but not impossible, for you to put on elections and get the real leaders in place. And I'll say that having leaders committed is more important than having elections, right? Because an election is just a formality, especially if you don't have a group that has like contested positions. Like there is a PTA in one of my in my school district that there's almost never a contested election because it's not something people really want to do. And so the people who agree, who are slated, those are the people that 9 times out of 10, maybe 9.9 times out of 10 end up in those positions. So all of this to say that it's super important to get leaders lined up now, and that you don't want to be waiting until fall to either find leaders or elect leaders in the fall, because that's really going to put your PTA or PTO at a super huge disadvantage. And I quite honestly think it's really unfair to those new leaders to say, hey, well, here's your new job. Congratulations. And oh, by the way, the welcome back event is in 2 days. So have fun planning all that, So there are a couple caveats to what I am saying. So if you have no choice, but I think you do, I'm going to make the argument for why you have a choice in just a few minutes. There are some things that you can do to lessen it. So, but let me stick a pin in that and we'll circle back around. So if you have your nominees slated, if they were presented at your March meeting, if notice has been given to your members, perhaps even they've been afforded the opportunity to nominate someone from the floor, you can go ahead and proceed with elections virtually, because we have all of this newfangled technology. One, it's not that newfangled. Two, there's a lot of guidance out there and a lot of tools out there. So if you're going to hold a virtual election, what you need to do is provide notice to everybody. So let's say you have a slate. Let's start with this position. So you have people in there already, or in there, you know what I mean by in there already. You have people committed already who have agreed to the position, because when you slate someone, you ask them, hey, are you interested in serving in this capacity for the PTO for the next school year? And if they accept, then they go into that position. Easy peasy, right? So let's say you have the slate of people. The next thing you want to do is email your membership or communicate this in whatever communication system you have set up. If you don't have the emails for your members, then you need to contact your principal and ask them to get it sent out. So they're more than likely still working, even if your school is closed. I would even guess that the office administrator is still working. You're not able to go into the office, but they still have, again, emails. So you're going to be able to either call them or email them and say, hey, look, I need a favor. I want to set up our PTA for the best position in the fall, so it is not a hot mess, because it's not only going to be a hot mess for the PTO, it's going to be a hot mess for the principal and also the office administrator. Like, there's going to have to be a lot of scrambling at the back end if you don't take care of business on the front end. So you're going to contact all of your members and you're going to say, hey, we are going to send out a virtual ballot in, I would do 2 weeks from whenever you make that communication. And I would say, as a reminder, here are the slated nominees. If you wish to nominate yourself or anyone else for one of these positions, please contact the nominating chair by 1 week from now. Then let's fast forward to that 1 week from now. Then you are going to, as the nominating chair is then going to contact anybody who was nominated from the floor. Okay, so anybody who was not slated but is interested in the position, they're going to contact them and say, hey, unless it was a self-nomination. If it was a self-nomination, you really don't need to confirm with them, hey, are you still good? Still interested? If, let's say, Susie is nominating Barbara, then you're going to give Barbara a call and say, hey, Barbara, Susie nominated you for the position of recording secretary. Are you interested in running for that position? When she confirms that, then she can get added to the virtual ballot. And to set up your virtual ballot, I highly recommend you using one of the many services out there. You can use SurveyMonkey, although I'm not entirely sure about the full functionality. My preferred platform is Google Forms. It is 100% free, and I am going to be publishing a blog post later in the day that shows how I set up the virtual ballot, but I'll just go ahead and explain it. So it's really easy. And if you've never used Google Forms, let me tell you, this is going to be your new best friend, right? So I used it yesterday, like for 3 different things. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is making my life so much easier. And all 3 things were related actually to the PTA that I was, the PTAs that I'm involved. So it was pretty cool. So anyway, you're going to go in and set up a new survey or a new form. And then basically you're going to check your settings to make sure that you're limiting responses to just one vote or one response. And that also you can, if you do have paid members and that it's in your bylaws that only paid members can vote, you're going to go ahead and ask them to sign in and have the form collect email addresses. So this way, the secretary, before tabulating the votes, can look on the responses. In Google Forms, the nice thing about it is there's 2 ways to view the responses. One is with like pie charts. They just tally up the votes and say how many people have responded to each question in which way. And then there's another way that you can dump all the information into a spreadsheet. And so if you have paid membership that you were looking to restrict a vote, right? So only if that, I said that really funky, but you know what I mean. If you have membership guidelines to say that only members can vote, then you're going to want to dump all the information into a spreadsheet, double check all of the emails, and tell people, please sign in with the email that you've given us, right? Otherwise, we're not going to be able to know it's you. Or you could also add a question to collect their name, I guess is the other way around that if you don't want it that complication. But you're going to look double check that list against your membership list, and then you're gonna filter out anybody who's not on your list. The one bad thing about using Google Forms is that you're not able to have 100% anonymous voting. But I really think that's a trade-off for being able to do it now. And that if I was in charge of it, I would just know that I'm just not going to be curious about it, and I'm just going to do my job, which is to filter out the non-members and ensure only members' votes are being counted, and just disregard it. So I know some people won't be able to handle that, but maybe they're not supposed to be the one counting everything, and I would have your secretary or whoever is designated in your bylaws. For our PTAs here, it is usually the secretary who's tabulating the votes. So then once you've filtered out all of the non-members, you can tabulate the votes pretty easily, because again, it's in a spreadsheet, so you can just sort and figure it out. And then you're going to announce the winners, and then you'll have to set an installation date, but installation is even more of a formality than election, so don't worry about that. Just announce the results. So that is how you're going to do it. Really super simple. And I was trying to figure out a way to make a template for you guys just to be able to copy, and I so couldn't figure that out. So I have done a little bit of research. So if anybody knows and wants to comment here with a link to show me how to do that, that would be great. And then I'll be more than happy, because I already have one set up and I just couldn't figure out how to make it a template. I can only make it give you access so that you could copy it. And in my experience, someone is going to not copy it. They will just make changes to the original document, and that'll screw everything up. So, but when you are setting up your virtual ballot for each elected position, you're going to say, who do you want to vote for president for your PTA? And then you're going to list the slated nominee, and you're going to say slated nominee : like Christina Heideck. And then you're going to list out other nominees, and then the last thing you're going to put on there is abstain. Because if we were doing a paper ballot, you would totally be able to abstain if you wanted to. So give people that option too, that if they just don't want to abstain and they want to have a little protest vote and not vote for the slated nominee, then afford them that opportunity. It's not a big deal. So that's really the only pointer. So I really think you probably can set up the virtual ballot on your own, but I just was looking for ways to make it a little bit easier for you. So I'll keep trying today for a little bit and see if I can make that happen. Okay, that's if you have everybody slated or close. Yeah, if you have everybody slated. If you are close to having, oh, Michelle has a question. So if you only give viewable rights to the link you give us, yes. And I couldn't figure out how to only give viewable rights, Michelle. So I have been down that path. So I will, again, check it out, but great suggestion. I could not find a way, and I think it's just how Forms is set up, that there was no way for me to edit the permission level. It was either you can edit it or not. So yeah, but I'll try again. But thank you for that. Okay, so let's move on to the situation where you don't have a slate done or even started. Okay, both situations you can handle the same way. You need to look at your usual pool of volunteers and reach out. And when I mean you, I should have backed up and said, the president shouldn't be doing this. You should have a nominating chair. But ideally it should not be the president, because you don't want the president. There are some people who can't say no. I have a friend, she's a new friend. I've known her for about a year, but we don't see each other all that often. We maybe only see each other quarterly. And I was talking with her about a month ago, because we were both working on this event, the big fundraiser that we had to reschedule and turn into an online fundraiser. So we were talking in the parking lot, and I forget how it came up. I think I said, "Oh, Julianne, I really like you." And she goes, "I like you too, but you scare me, and I feel like I can't say no to you." Because I think I had asked her to do something. And I thought, "Oh, I scare you?" And she's like, "Yeah, a little, I don't want to say no. I want to say yes to you." And I was like, well. Another one of our friends was standing there, and I said, "Sue, do I scare you?" And she just started laughing. She's like, "God, no." But I get what Julianne means. So that's kind of why you don't want your president to be making the ask, because you want people to be saying yes of their own free will. You don't want them saying yes because they're afraid to disappoint someone. And sometimes people are like so impressed with presidents and other people that have strong leadership personas that they can't say no, and then they're going to be in a position and they're really not going to do that hot of a job. So in the end, it is really good for you not to be asking as president. So you want to have other PTO volunteers doing the ask, and it ideally needs to be more than one person too, just to spread out the burden. So I think right now is a really nice time to connect with people you haven't connected with in a while. I know that since we've been home for, it'll be 3 weeks on Friday, so we're like 2.5 weeks in now. I've started contacting other people I haven't talked to in a while, and it's been really nice, because sometimes you just run into people and you can chat them up then. But in this time, since we can't see people in person, you're really going to have to make that effort. So if you have not started at all, I would started filling your slate at all. If you have no committed volunteers for next year, I would look at think back to the volunteers who have helped out at other events this year. Think back to people who have come to a meeting or two. Think back, you just have to really tap into your brain power. And if you need to, look at pictures from your events to jog your memory. Ask other people, who do you know who might be a good fit for this? Who do you think might be interested in this? And I'm thinking right now I need to do a whole nother thing about how to convince people to do PTA and PTO jobs, or I bet I have another blog post. So I'll have to look back and see what I have, because this is like a whole nother offshoot. I could talk about that forever, because I'm pretty good at getting people to do things, even without them being scared of me. And I guess sometimes now they are being scared of me for some reason, even though I'm super nice. So it's really funny. Okay, so start getting people in the loop, okay? And then if you really have no possibilities, then right now I want you to start planning for a late summer family get together or a parents' night out, because I am guessing how things are trending, looking like they're trending. And I think for the United States generally, the virus is going to be peaking. Well, they said deaths from the virus, which is so morbid, right? But that's going to be peaking in about 2 weeks. And so I'm guessing that kind of correlates with the number of cases as well. So I'm thinking that late June, early July, that's going to be your safe point to probably hold an event. So you want to be looking that far out, which is depressing in its own right, but we got to be realistic about this, and we got to be safe, because again, PTO is a nice thing to have. It is not, unfortunately, a necessity, right? Because if we're all stuck at home, it doesn't really matter. So I would plan for then, and I think that's a really safe time, and maybe mid-July would be perfect. And I think your event would work to get people out, because one, they're gonna be so flippin' tired of just being at home. People will, I think, for any reason, will be oh, we can get out of the house and see other people. And I think there's really gonna be a new level of excitement with being other people. So I think this ultimately, I'm looking for the silver lining in this horrible, horrible situation, but I think this actually could be really good for our PTAs and PTOs. I think people, I'll go into that because I have a whole nother little soapbox, hope, and I think it could be really good. So I'm trying to find the silver lining in this. So I hope you'll be positive about this too, because with every situation, there's a bad thing, there's a really good thing. So I'm just gonna keep us focused on the positive. So plan an event for, like I said, late June, mid-July. We should be safe by then, but you could always just let parents know, tentatively, this is what we're planning. Plans change, circle back, calendar it, but we might have to bump it. Maybe you just put in another date 2 weeks later if you even want to do it like that. And so I think for elementary buildings, you can do an all-family get together, and I would not do it during the day. I would do it in the evening, maybe do a potluck dinner, or if you don't want to deal with people sharing food, then you could just say a picnic, a family picnic. Bring your own food. We're going to provide the people and the space, and You should have some money left over since we're not doing anything for the last quarter of the year. So you can use some of your leftover money for that. It could be a family fun. It's going to be a family fun event. And for older students, so for the middle schools, junior highs, high schools, you're going to do a parents' night out, man, because they are going to need it. They're going to need it. So again, people will come to that. So start thinking in those kind of terms. You will get the social butterflies and maybe some of the introverts too, who really need to be a little extroverted for a little bit. You're going to get them coming to events, and when you start chatting them up, and you're not going to dive into, "Hi Alice, would you like to be on the PTO?" You're just going to like talk to them like a human being, and because you're a charismatic and engaging person, they're going to want to spend more time with you. And that is 100% how I have gotten every single person involved in PTA and PTO to date. So just be your fabulous self, and people are going to want to hang out with you. And if you were breaking down your positions so that they are not overwhelming, then you're going to really have success. And I know I for sure have something on that, so I can put that in the notes too. So that is what I recommend for you to do to get people. Because now, normally when you would recruit people are at these last kind of year-end events, and we don't have those, so we need to make our own. You can also look to see if your school is doing a new family orientation, and if so, get your booty there, get some other people's booties there, and do some heavy recruiting there. The new families that are coming in are really likely to want to get involved, and so those are going to be really good people for you to talk with, because they're going to be very responsive, because they're going to be new, and they're going to listen. There's no better way to figure out what is going on in a school than to join a PTO, because you get access to things and information that you otherwise wouldn't get, right? We all know that. Okay, so that is what to do if you don't have a slate. Okay, so let me circle back, because I just had to have a little rant about this because it so annoys me. All right, so groups. So listen, nobody, our PTAs and PTOs bylaws are probably not set up for a pandemic, right? We've already learned the hard lesson. This is all why y'all are watching. People are starting to freak out when they think about well, this isn't how we normally do things. No, it's not. So I say, do not be a strict, don't take a strict reading of your bylaws and standing rules right now when it pertains to meetings and elections. I think we're going to have to really look at where the gaps are in our governing documents and make adjustments when we resume in the fall. But for right now, I think we all can recognize, I think my PTA council has a provision for virtual voting, but the PTSA at the high school does not. So we're going to need to, I'm pretty sure they don't. So we're going to have to look at that. So that is a topic for another day. And I'm going to do a whole nother live stream with suggested wording and all that jazz. It'll be wonderful. So that is coming up next week or the week after. I have to figure out when I can get all my stuff together. But I think you're going to have to take a little bit of a leeway and know that you are not strictly following the rules, but follow the spirit of the rules as much as possible. So that if your bylaws don't specifically permit online voting, you could poll your members, but I think as an executive board, you just need to make the decision that it is better to have people in place than to follow the rules and dump all this crap on them in the fall, like all the new leaders in the fall. I think that's super unfair. And I think that some of the organizations that are strictly prohibiting online voting, California PTA, I think that's really short-sighted. And I haven't seen a good argument. Of course, they're not required to explain themselves to me, but here in Ohio, the Ohio PTA just sent out guidance on how to do online voting, because there is the technology. Like I said, for Google Forms, I haven't figured out a way to make fully anonymous voting. There might be, and I just haven't discovered it. There might be that functionality in SurveyMonkey or another survey platform. I haven't figured it out. You could also, I think that's the easiest way. Using a service like SurveyMonkey or Google Forms is the easiest way to tabulate everything and to ensure so that you have you have a document. And yes, you are trusting someone to be honest enough not to monkey with the data, but I just don't think any of this stuff is that important to monkey with. I guess I'm just trusting people to be good. If you do have a transparency issue, then maybe you should wait until the summer when you can meet and do it then. But I'm going to hope and pray that everyone can be adults here, because this is very serious situation that we're dealing with, and we need to act accordingly. So before I go, I haven't seen any other questions. Oops, getting my fish tank down here. I haven't seen any other questions, so I will hang out once the video ends and hang out and respond to comments. And so I hope this has been really informative for you. Like I said, I'm working on a blog post that'll go into some of this in greater detail and really lay out those steps. So if you are just joining me here at the tail end, you'll be able to get to it. And then I'm going to be back here on Friday with another topic that's escaping my mind, because I'm rearranging the schedule because some issues have come up that I feel are more important. So I'm kind of prioritizing what I'm going to be talking with you guys about, and really teaching you, leading the path forward so that this isn't so overwhelming, because none of this you should have to figure out on your own, right? We should all have guidance on this, so we can do it. We can do it together. So look for the updated live schedule in the events. If you want to be notified about future lives, and I'm going to be going live probably Monday, Wednesday, Friday is what I figured out for the foreseeable future. You know, it's really nice because it gives me something to do. So it gives me a way to get out there and talk with people. So again, if you're like an extrovert that's forced at home like me, then find somebody to talk to, or start doing live streams with your friends. I don't know. But if there's a topic that you want me to cover, send me an email at Christina@PTOanswers.com. Remember, don't send me a message on Messenger here or try and DM me on Facebook, because it's just too much to track, y'all. So just email me, do me that favor, or write a comment in the post and I'll circle back to you or add it to the schedule or do whatever I need, because the whole reason I'm here is to help you, is to make this easier so that you're not figuring it out on your own. So, okay, hope this has been super helpful. It was really fun for me to talk about. I got all excited and a little schwitzy because now it's getting a little humid here. So I'm going to go and get some water. So, all right, take care, you guys. Stay safe, stay home, be well, and I will see you Friday. All right, bye-bye.